Hello, YouTube. Happy Friday from Australia. So, I'm going to get straight into it because this is a topic that I feel whoever listens to this really needs to listen to this. Now, if you feel like you've plateaued in your progress, you feel like you're not progressing, you feel like you're very ambitious, you have these big goals and dreams and vision in your life, yet you've hit this point. And I say this a lot with high achievers. I've been having these conversations with my clients that sometimes mid-year you can hit this plateau and it kind of feels like, well, I put all this energy into changing this year and I haven't hit the goals that I really want to, or I'm struggling to like break through my glass ceiling. This conversation is for you, and it's a theme that I've seen. So I kind of did a little bit of like my own research over the past couple of weeks of just consuming different types of content, motivational and inspirational, personal development, personal growth, growth mindsets, content. And just from people I've never consumed before over here on YouTube, a little bit on Instagram, and a little bit on TikTok, just like different things that I wouldn't normally watch, or the way that they've put a header or headline or what they've named their piece of content, it wouldn't really draw me in. And I did this because I wanted just to see like if there was a theme in this inspirational, motivational content when it comes to plateauing, when it comes to progressing. And the theme in majority of them, and something I share with all of my clients, is you need to have a willingness to change. You need to have a willingness to shift what is actually happening and to bridge the gap between your current self and your future self. And I know that if you consume any form of personal development, any personal growth content, motivational, change your life type content, I know that may seem like the most obvious thing, but a lot of the time, what I see lacking with high achievers, and I work with high achieving women, is the actual willingness to change. We can say we want to change, we can do the surface level work, whether it's watching something like this, listening to a podcast, investing in coaching, or investing in therapy, or investing in books, courses. It doesn't matter. It doesn't signify that you actually have a willingness to change. I call this like the personal development syndrome, when you consume a lot of personal development and a lot of like motivational, inspirational things and resources and content, and it gives you a dopamine hit, and it makes you feel like you're working towards your dreams and your ambitions. It makes you feel like you're doing something and progressing. But that's why a lot of people get to this mid-year point and they look back in the past 6 months and it's like, oh, I've kind of made some change, I've kind of progressed in a little bit, but it doesn't. Why do I feel like I'm working so hard? Why do I feel like I'm doing all of the right things, the things I just named, and my results don't make sense? Like, they should be further along than this. And I say this with love because I've definitely been there many, many times where I'm like, I feel like I'm working so hard. I feel like I'm doing everything that I possibly can. I feel like I'm learning everything. But the difference is actually switching on this, pardon me, actually switching on this big willingness to shift where you currently are. People get too comfortable to where they are subconsciously. My first phase of the woman mastery method that I teach all my clients is subconscious reprogramming. And subconsciously, if your current life feels safe, it doesn't matter how much you consume, it doesn't matter how hard you work, you can burn yourself into the ground. And I've been in many cycles of burnout before to look for that success. If you subconsciously feel so safe where you are, and there are benefits that outweigh getting to your future self. If your subconscious mind looks at your life right now and goes, there are way too many benefits to stay in here, we are going to do whatever we can to sabotage you getting to your future self. That's why sometimes it can feel like this huge big grind of trying to get to where you want to get, of trying to see results. And so we know, and if you don't know, but basically subconscious mind and nervous system, its job is to keep you safe. So anything out of what it perceives as safe, your comfortable zone, your comfort zone, it will go SOS alert, danger. Let's sabotage that. Let's not work towards, even though consciously you may be thinking, I want to hit the 20K month, the 30K month. I want to get that promotion. I want to attract my next dream relationship. I want to be able to save up money for this car that I really desire. And it's like, I feel like I'm trying so hard to put money away, but I always manifest a bill. I'm trying so hard to get more clients, but I just feel burnt out. It's because your subconscious mind is trying to keep you where you are because it's safe, but you also benefit. And so going back and looping this to what I said at the start, and the theme across all of this different content, should have brought my water bottle. All of this different content that I have seen, oh my God, all of this different content that I have seen over the past couple of weeks that I've been consuming is you need to have a willingness, a deep desire and willingness to have these conversations with yourself. And if you struggle, this is why it's good to hire a coach or a mentor to come in and to see your blind spots. Like I always say to my clients, I am just looking at your blind spots and I'm making you aware. Like I'm not doing the work for you. I'm just making you highly aware, consciously aware of what's happening. And actually ask yourself, am I willing to change? Am I willing? Like putting your future self on a pedestal sounds really good because it's like whatever your future version of success is, it's like that sounds good, like the money or the status or the relationship or the health or the recognition, whatever it may be. It sounds really, really, really good. But then you need to ask, am I actually willing to, number one, change and rewire the way that I'm thinking every single day? Like quite literally, it's like I'd say the analogy, and this has been used many, many times, but it's like we're a computer hard drive. Are you quite literally willing to take out your current hard drive, throw it in the trash, and put in a brand new one? That is phase one of my woman mastery method. Phase two is all about identity shifting. Basically, are you ready to like kill off your current identity and bring in a whole new one and actually establish yourself? And then phase three is about regulating to that new capacity. So a lot of high achievers get really worried that if I get all this success, how am I actually going to maintain this, right? That's what we do in phase three. But these are the questions that I want you to start to ask yourself. It may sound really, really good and consuming all of the personal development or, doing the things, like feeling like you're doing the things, but do you actually have a willingness to do the work that requires you to go deep within, that requires you to heal, and also requires you to quite literally get rid of who you currently are? A lot of people look at their future self like it's a version of them. Yes, to a degree, but you also need to start to shift your mindset and look at your future self as a completely different person. Like, let's say you're on the street and your future self came up to you, you'd recognize that it's you because it kind of looks like you, but they are completely like a completely different person. Like if you just met a stranger on the street, that's how I want you to envision it. A lot of people are like, my future self is me, and it's hard to work towards a different identity and get rid of who you currently are if you're always saying like my future self is me, because see how it's like merging. And so you're kind of telling your ego and your subconscious mind like I'm already here, but then it's like what, it doesn't make sense, I'm not getting my future self results. So I want you to start just to have that small mindset shift of my future self. Yes, it's me. Like when we look at the quantum world and timelines, yes, it's me on some timeline, but it's also not me. It's also a completely different person. And that's exactly how I want you to start to view it. But then having that mindset shift and the willingness, like, again, I know this sounds so obvious. And when I speak to my clients about it, it's like, having this like click of like, oh, like, am I actually willing to do this work? Am I actually willing to go in and to face myself? Am I actually willing to make that shift? And sometimes we're just not, and we have to be honest. And I think the more honest, and this requires you to develop a deep self-trust. It's like one of the foundations of all the work with my clients is if you don't have self-trust, you will never back yourself. If you can't back yourself, what do you really have? Right? You're not backing yourself, you're not trusting yourself. And so building on your self-trust is absolutely crucial. I do this with all my clients, like it's a requirement. We just had a mastermind call 2 nights ago, and I said we've workshopped a lot. We did a bit of workshopping around the fear of judgment and the fear of being seen. But I said, for everyone, I want you over the next couple of weeks just to prioritize working on your self-trust and how you can connect back to self, because then you can make these discernments, you can make these decisions of like, am I actually okay just doing what I'm doing and staying in these cycles and like bringing it to the conscious mind? A lot of people don't actually want to be like, yeah, like I listen to 3 podcasts every single day and I'm reading a new book every other week. but actually I'm like not doing anything with it. I'm not taking any action, or I'm not actually like willingly working through how I feel about myself or how I feel about my life. And like, yeah, like work sucks. I really, really want to leave and get a new job, but like I'm not actually working towards that. That it's not about shame or judgment. I say this to my clients, never. It's about getting curious. It's about just holding a mirror to yourself. And like when you have that self trust, it becomes easier because it's like, hang on, I've been benefiting from this for so long and staying in this position. Do I actually want more? I mean, it sounds good, but I don't. Or it's like, yeah, you know what? I do. So let's bring up all this shit to the surface. And this is why we start with phase one, subconscious reprogramming. What is my current hard drive? What does that look about? And people get to the point where they're about to look at it and they're about to inspect all of it. And then they're like, no, 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 this is too much. Yes, I'm building up my self trust again. I've pivoted in my career before, but it's time to pivot again. And I'm so afraid because the job seems so advanced. And, you know, when stuff like this is like, use it all as feedback. It's so great that you've pivoted before and you're pivoting again. And yes, uh, it can feel really, really scary. I'll be better once I write out my interview response. But I think it's all feedback. I think it's so beautiful to be able to witness everything that feels sticky, the fear, the being afraid, the scariness, all of that. I think it's so great to use that as feedback. Thank you so much for sharing that, because when you are able to look at all these parts, we expect, this is the thing, right? People expect that when you decide to change, just because you then step into the willingness to change, people believe that when you step into that willingness that it becomes easy. I never said that. I just said you need to actually have a willingness to change. You need to have a willingness to do something with your life. But guess what? Change is one of the most dysregulating things. The body doesn't like it, right? The body, the nervous system, the subconscious mind. This is why we do, yes, the subconscious reprogramming, but the identity shifting and embodiment as well, because change is very, very dysregulating. But that is a beautiful thing, because all these things, just like this comment that comes up to you, use it, write these things down and explore it. Get so super curious about what is actually happening in your life. And then ask yourself, why am I the way I am? Why is this coming up for me? Why have I attracted it in now this new job? Or like whether it's this comment, or whether it's like in someone's business, if you're watching, or why have I attracted this relationship? It's like, sure, everyone here knows someone that has been in many relationships and they're like attracting a different person, but it's like the same type of relationship. It's because they don't have a willingness to do that work and understand, why does this keep going up? Nothing will change unless we have that willingness to change. And so I think as high achievers, we all have it in us to make these decisions, to make a change. But unless you want to go deeper and explore, like, this is what life and the inner work should be about. I feel like the internet, the industry, what I've seen in the past couple of years is like this surface level type work. And, you know, it can be really, really frustrating because it's not the surface level work. The surface level work helps, like the podcast, the books, and in the YouTube videos. Don't get me wrong. I mean, look, I'm doing a YouTube video. They help. But then it's like the next layer. Let's sit with things. And sometimes things don't. This is why I do longer term containers. Like my mastermind is a minimum 6 months. My private clients stay with me 12 plus months. And it's more about how can we explore? We're not like, let's smash out like this, and this. It's I think it's beautiful. It's scary and it can feel really sticky in the nervous system, but it's also such a beautiful place to be, to say, hey, I am building my self trust and I'm doing this for myself. And I'm getting like, why wouldn't you want to get to know yourself better in this lifetime? Why wouldn't you want to get to know and get curious about everything that's happening in your life, and like why you stayed in the same spot, or why you attracting the same money or the same relationships or the same jobs over and over again? And if you're watching this and you're loving this, definitely, I think it's the first link is a free training. It's called Hack Your Subconscious Mind. So what I was saying about phase one for my woman mastery method, I basically, in that training, I give you two concepts and frameworks that I teach my clients, and I go through them in the training. So definitely, like in the show notes below, this is the first thing. It's completely free, no catch. And yeah, I really, really loved hosting that training a few weeks ago because I shared, yeah, a couple of frameworks that I give my clients, and you do those frameworks. That's the type of work I mean. It's not like watching a masterclass being like, okay, I watched a masterclass. This sounds good. It's motivational. I hate like when there's free masterclasses and it's like, okay, that was great. Like I feel inspired, but like, what do I do? What's the action I take? So if you want some actionable steps to help with reprogramming your subconscious mind, definitely sign up to Hack in the show notes. But I hope that this has given you something to think about, something to just really get curious about, and just ask yourself if you are noticing the same patterns you're attracting in your life and you've been doing this work for a while and things aren't shifting, or it feels like it's like, oh, this is hard, like it feels like a grind. Are you actually willing to change? Are you actually willing to change, or are you benefiting too much from where you're from? And it can be a hard question to sit down and answer and get curious on and ask yourself that. But I promise you, it's worth it. Anyway, I've got to go now. I appreciate all of you that joined here live over on TikTok, everyone that joined here live over on YouTube. If you are watching on YouTube, I would absolutely love for you to subscribe, because I try to go live Monday to Friday, at least like every day, and on the weekend if I have space. But a lot of my content is my podcast. So definitely, if you love this talk, go listen to the latest podcast as well. Very juicy, tangible steps. But thank you so much. I appreciate every single one of you. And I will speak to you in the next live. Bye.